You're listening to episode 77 on the Air Hug Community Podcast. Hey, welcome back to the Air Hug Community, a place where you can come to listen to stories and conversations by guests and myself, and I am just like the average midlife mom next door. Stories and conversations that we have about literally how to live a life that we love. We talk about all sorts of topics relevant to midlife, from centering around worthiness and self-love and fitness and, of course, healthy habits, but family, relationships, and all sorts of things that creep into our lives at this stage of our life. So I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining us here, and let's get to it. It's January, and it's darker than dark, and your 5:30 a.m. alarm goes out, and you're supposed to get out of bed and get ready for that morning workout. But you hit snooze, and before you know it, you've slept through the workout. Or it's Thursday night of a long week of demanding projects at work. You get home, or you go from your work office to your kitchen, and you are not motivated to eat a meal that is healthy. So you order takeout, and not the healthy kind of takeout, and later you regret it. And then you say to yourself, I just don't have any willpower. Or you just throw your hands up in the air and accept it. So why does willpower fail us, and what can we do about it? Well, let's start with the research, all right, or publications. Old research says that it's not our fault, that willpower is biologically limited, and that it's not helpful. The next generation of publications, which are somewhat backed by science, current science, I don't want to say somewhat, they are, is that willpower, I'm going to say somewhat, willpower is likened to a muscle, and so it's hopeful that it can be strengthened. So let me tell you what we know now is that is actually a half-truth, and so while willpower may be a limited resource, studies indicate that it can actually be boosted. And just letting people know that you actually have the capability to boost your willpower can actually work cumulatively in your favor. So, cold showers. I have been taking cold showers literally as a little test of my discipline, I guess you could say, or some people will call it willpower. I find it to be very mentally taxing because I don't like to be cold. Like, I can drink hot beverages all day long. I love to be warm. I don't mind winter, but I don't like to be cold. And so I've been taking on this task of, if I can get through a cold shower, not the whole shower, just the last, right now I'm only up to like 30 seconds. If I can get through 30 seconds of cold water, especially in the winter, then I can probably do anything. And so it's kind of a push for me to help myself. So let's talk about willpower in general, and what are the reasons that people generally fail at willpower. And after lots of study and reflection and research, I came up with 5 reasons why your willpower fails you and some of the things that we can do about it. So if you want to have a paper and pencil out today, you can do this. Or if you're out on a walk and you're just listening, maybe you want to come back to this later. But I really think that this can be very, very helpful in how you approach things that are difficult going forward. So, number 1 reason why your willpower fails you. You are too restrictive. All right, maybe this is an effort, and you can definitely look at this in terms of trying to eat healthy, okay? Maybe you're trying to make amends for poor decisions that you made earlier on. That never works. Or maybe you're trying to get fast results because all of a sudden you realize that you have a certain event and that you would like to look differently or fit into something that you didn't are currently not fitting into. Also, a poor reason for being overly restrictive. But the problem with being overly restrictive is it always leads to overeating later on. Trust me on that one. And I'll bet you can even think about some times in your life when that has happened to you as well. All right. Number 2 reason why your willpower fails you. You're trying to make too many decisions. Okay, so, and I've had people do this. People have come to me and they want a little nutrition advice and they're like, okay, I'm going to create a spreadsheet and it's going to have all like the vegetables over here and the processed foods here and this, that. And before you know it, they've got like 17 categories. And I'm like, nobody wants to look at 17 categories just to eat breakfast, right? You have to keep your decisions simple. And if you want to learn a little bit more about decision fatigue, I did a very quickie episode back at number 15. In a nutshell was the little theme of it, but it talks about decision fatigue. So you can go check on that. You'll be able to listen to that in the time that you can do like your AM or PM routine. It's that quick. All right. Number 3 reason why your willpower fails you. You're sleep deprived. Okay. People know that when we are sleep deprived, we make poor decisions and they are almost never in our best interest, especially if you're trying to tackle a newer, healthier lifestyle. So if you want to learn a little bit more about this, you can check out episode 65. But the fact of the matter is you need adequate rest for your brain to function rationally, okay? Otherwise, the excuse devil gets a hold of everything and rationalizes anything that you want in the current moment. And it completely forgets about delayed gratification. So, all right, number 4 reason why your willpower fails you. I'm not messing around here. I do kind of keep these episodes pretty short and concise. So anyways, number 4 is you're doing battle with the enemy within yourself. Okay, so you really have to do the work to actually know that you're worthy. Yeah, there's always going to be hard times when you're trying to do the right thing or whatever the next right thing is, which is one of my favorite sayings when I'm in a conundrum. I'm like, well, just do the next right thing. But if you don't really think that you're worthy, if you don't have the confidence, literally, it gets down to confidence and worthiness. If you don't believe in yourself enough to get this uncomfortable, you're going to take the easy road, right? So, and we could go into a whole conversation about how easy is earned, but take the hard road to have easy later on. If you take easy now, you're going to have a hard road later on. And I'm definitely paraphrasing that, but I know you can kind of grasp that. If you can't, ask me about it later. But it's basically you have to forsake instant gratification and know that you will be gratified later on. All right, number 5, thought patterns. All right, your strategy is too complicated. All right, it goes back to all these spreadsheets, and what it really gets down to is chasing meaning. All right, chasing meaning for your health rather than trying to avoid discomfort is going to give you a better outcome 100% of the time. So I'm not talking about results. I'm talking about doing the behavior that's in alignment with the results that you desire. What's the whole meaning behind you trying to do these difficult behaviors? What's the whole meaning behind doing food prep and making half your plate of vegetables at almost all your meals, or half your plate full of vegetables or plant food at almost every meal? What's the meaning behind that? Maybe you don't want to get diabetes. Maybe, you don't want to get all the other or be at a high risk for all those other diseases that are associated with maybe excess fat around your middle. It's that simple, right? Simple, yes, but is it easy to follow through? It can be, right? One of my favorite books, if not my very favorite book on willpower, is written by Kelly McGonigal. And I love it because she's been quoted as being in the science help industry, which is basically how scientists break down certain studies so that the rest of the world can understand how to apply them and live better. So Kelly McGonigal's book is The Willpower Instinct. And in that book, she talks about 3 different kinds of willpower: the I won't, the I will, and the I want. And it's really very fascinating, and I'm just going to talk about it really, really quickly. But the I won't is the one that refuses the negative behavior. That's the one where you're just constantly thinking about the discomfort. I won't do that, I won't do that, I won't do that, I'm missing out. It's the one that's associated with fear of missing out, right? And it's the one where you always have that second glass of wine, right, when you don't want to. So then there's the I will. That's the one that helps you do what is uncomfortable. I will get my finances in order before my meeting with the accountant. I will eat a half a plate of vegetables today, even if I'm too tired to prepare them. What are some ways that I can get that half plate of vegetables in? Hello, Panera. All right. That's a lot of times what I say. Anyways, how about I want? I want think of it this way. What is the number one goal that you want to pursue your time on? What is the most powerful future circumstance that you want to be in, right? This all gets down to that you really need a strong reason and a clear why. It's the part about chasing meaning, okay? You're not just doing this because you're in a bet with someone or you're in a 4-week challenge. By the way, I'm like really anti-challenge right now because I always feel like challenges are so temporary and people, they're finite and they get to that one point and then afterwards, you know, like what good is doing 50 squats a day for 30 days when you really haven't learned how to squat properly? Basically, you may end up injured, right? All right. The other thing that Kelly McGonigal talks about is pausing and planning. All right, so picture this. This happened to me, all right? I go to my car. I have just bought a bunch of groceries. I load the groceries in the car. I get in my car. I put my car in reverse and my foot is on the brake. All of a sudden, I look to the side and it feels like my car is moving, but yet I've got my foot on the brake and I slam my foot into the brake more and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Well, the car next to me has just started backing up, but it feels like for a second that I'm going forward and I'm going to crash into the car in front of me. So all of a sudden, I'm sweaty, my heart is pounding, my mouth starts salivating, and then it gets dry. And I'm like, what the heck just happened to me? That was definitely a fight or flight response. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but that literally scared me like I can't even explain it. Okay, the opposite feeling of that is a feeling of calm, and that's the feeling that you get when you pause and plan, when you have the pause and plan response. So instead of your senses being heightened and adrenaline being released and you doing some kind of impulsive behavior, you benefit from having a time buffer, all right, to pause and make a more beneficial decision, all right? This can be trained. But with willpower, like a muscle, it can get exhausted. But it doesn't have to get exhausted if you don't believe it. So here's the thing. I'm going to go back to thought patterns, number 5. And I'm going to do the old IFF. So people who know me and have worked with me know that I love this little acronym called IFF. And it stands for if and only if. And so the story behind that is if and only if came from my geometry teacher when I was in 10th grade and we were learning all those stupid geometry rules that I have no use for right now. But anyways, some of the rules would be if this, then that, but if and only if. So with reference to willpower and thought patterns, the number 5 reason for why your willpower fails you is this. If you believe that your willpower can get better, if you believe that your behavior can get better when you test it, studies show that actually it will get better. If you believe that willpower is basically something that you are born with, and either you have it or you don't, and you go down the I don't path, then that's also going to be true. And this kind of gets back to, again, Byron Katie's 4 questions in the book Loving What Is, which we talked about 2 episodes ago in episode number 675 with Paula Griffin. So no matter what you believe, if and only if you believe it, you're right. So you can change the story when you want to. And I just love that about this whole feeling. So there is definitely some control within yourself to pause and plan. So pause and plan and believe that you can actually do better at this. There's one more thing that McGonigal talks about in this book that I think is very, very relevant and that I have heard over and over again. It's this whole thing where, and this is why I hate the term cheat meal. It's this whole thing of feeling entitled, all right? It's this thing where letting previous good behavior be an excuse for a present poor choice. Cue up the cheat meal. You've gone Monday through Saturday afternoon and you have been so good and everything's been great. You go out on Saturday night for whatever reason, you're socializing, you're like, yes, I'm going to eat whatever I want. And you go and you eat so much. Maybe it's not so much, but it's so rich and it's way more. It's not just a little indulgent, it's overindulgent. And it could be food, it could be alcohol, it could be both, that you end up regretting your behavior. But you did it because you thought you, air quotes here, deserved it because you were good all week. Don't let that thinking creep in to your willpower and your healthy living strategy, because that, my friends, is flawed thinking. Do not let past good behavior be an excuse for making a poor choice in the present. And I do see this is something I've struggled with too. It's like, hey, you think you've done such a good job that you think you deserve it. But it does get back to treating yourself right versus treating yourself, which is something that I've been talking about a lot in social media posts and with my clients. And there's a difference between treating yourself right and treating yourself. Hopefully they would be the same, right? If you change your attitude that treating yourself means nourishing yourself with the foods and activities and the mindset, right? The story you tell yourself that actually chases the meaning you're after, right? We just brought that chasing meaning back into it. Chasing meaning is far better for your health than trying to avoid discomfort. So you may want to go back and listen to this again, but this is something that I've thought about over and over again. And it's not that you have willpower or don't. And I used to meet people all the time when I was bodybuilding training and I was obviously very, very lean. And people would look at me and say, oh, I could never have the willpower to do that. And I didn't even get into a conversation with them. But I thought to myself, if it has meaning for you, you will do it. If it doesn't have meaning for you, then it's not important and you won't do it. So that, my friends, is our chat about 5 reasons why your willpower can fail you. So as a little side note, I know this, an attitude shift here would be that it's not that you're relying on willpower, it's that you're enjoying chasing the meaning you're after. So you're enjoying cultivating your life for your future life, right? It always gets down to what we're doing now. Is this going to make our future more enjoyable or more regretful? You catch me on that? That's a big one. All right, listen, I would like to say thank you very much for listening today. And now I have news for you. I'm always asking for people to go ahead and review and subscribe if they haven't on Apple. But it turns out if you are listening on Spotify, you can do it there too. So if you are a Spotify listener, go ahead and do me a favor and give this show a rating and write a review. It really helps to get the podcast out there into the ears of people who may also benefit from it. I thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next week here on the Air Hug Community.